Hello and welcome back to another episode of City Skylines 2. Last episode, we built this huge sprawling neighborhood of low density residential, pretty much filling in this whole area of our map. And in this episode, I want to continue filling this in and make it feel much more connected by having connections across this highway and filling out this island and maybe fleshing out this area a little bit more. So the first thing I want to do, since we pretty much filled up all of this space, I want to plop some trees down to fill in the area between the highway and these residential homes. So we'll just grab a tree here. I think we'll start out with this, let's start with some linden trees and paint these in across here. I want to make sure it really fills out this area, so that's good. Then I think next we'll pick out some oak trees. We'll have some of these dotted around. And then the last tree I want to get sort of in the mix here, I think, is some birch trees. So we'll just quickly brush over all of this. And then lastly, just placing in a bunch of bushes wherever we can to really help fill in the density that we're looking for between the homes and the highway. So this is going to take a while for these trees to fully grow in. You can see a few of the ones that already exist here and how big they are. So once all these fill in, we'll have a nice dense forest separating our residential community and the major highway over on the other side. Alright, so the next thing I want to do is connect these two communities over the highway so that they all aren't going over this tiny bridge, which is our main connection to the highway. So if we can have these two roads, Laurel Street and Daffodil Street, bridge over the highway here, we can hopefully prevent a lot of the traffic that isn't getting on or off the highway off of this road. So first we'll bring this road out, I'd say probably 115 yards, and then we will raise it up maybe 15 feet if that gives us a bridge, although it looks like it might not. Maybe we just have to make it first. So we'll come out, make sure we're perfectly in line still, and then try to get this to come flat across, although it doesn't seem to like that. Looks like we might have to go a little bit higher to make this change. So here we are with our bridge across the highway. I think this works out pretty well. The slopes aren't terrible, and we'll pretty much do the exact same thing with this street here, and then once we cross over, we can connect these two grids. Alright, so we have our two bridges here. I think they cross the highway just fine. I think the height works out pretty well too, so we should be good now to figure out how we're going to connect all of this together. And as we were getting ready to build these roads, we've unlocked Milestone 8, and that puts us at a big town, which I believe is one of our next big milestones. So we can see here that unlocks high density housing for us, which is very exciting. So other than the high density housing, we don't really unlock too much other than just more progression points, expansion permits, and some money. So those progression points will definitely be good, or development points I should say, will be really good in helping us continuing to expand. Maybe we'll start looking into some electricity options, or maybe even transportation and parks. So anyway, back to figuring out how to connect this. I think we'll just drag a road across like so, but if we can get it to where it won't completely break the grid that we have, maybe something more like this, which works over here but not all the way across. It's gonna be a little tough to get this to work exactly how we want. Alright, so now we have our roads connected here. We have this little road here that'll sort of act as a buffer, and maybe if we can get some other connections in here, maybe these intersections can continue to come straight across like so, since those won't give us too big of, well, maybe this one we delete because that's a pretty short section of road. So maybe these two, since those give us a little bit of space between intersections. And that also just helps sort of break up the grid a bit more. This can all end up being commercial or maybe even offices actually, since we do have a decent amount of office demand. But I might want to put that somewhere over here. So after looking at this for a little bit, I think we will do row homes along this road. So we'll have those facing Thornton Street. And then I'm not too sure what we're going to do here. Maybe we can continue to use low density or row home zoning in this area to just fill in all this empty space. And then over here in pretty much like these three zones, I want to turn those into offices. So first let's come in here and grab our medium density row housing, and we'll just zone like this, and we'll leave the outer edges open so we get them facing the street that we want them to. So this side, the side along Thornton Street is the only one that faces the street, so all of our row homes should face that way once they grow in. And then I think back here on Brook Street as well, we will also do some more row housing and fill in this little square with low density residential. So I think that's all we're going to do over on this side of the highway. We'll let these zones fill in as demand continues to go up, and then see what that looks like and make any adjustments as needed. But then over on this side, and let's go to our zoning tools and dezone everything here, and hopefully they'll go away pretty soon. But we could also just come in here and click and drag with our bulldoze tool and just delete all of those houses. And now what we can do is come in and start building out our office areas. I don't necessarily want these right along the road since there is residential, so we'll have a little bit of a buffer with trees or maybe even parking lots, and then we'll have the offices sort of back in these areas. So let's just click and drag a road across like so. I think that'll work out pretty well. And then sort of like at these ends, we'll draw it over and maybe even bring it back around. So let's bring it over there and then something like this, so the zoning cells meet up and all of this can become offices. So I think we'll leave these other ones as they are, although we could bring a road out like this, but it doesn't seem like the zoning grid really likes that. Maybe if we delete that, we get a little bit better. We'll see what happens maybe if we just delete these So that gives us full zoning on this road. And then we can bring that back across and reconnect these roads. It almost works, but I think that's fine. I think the variation in the depth of this grid will help us with getting different looking offices in this area. So we'll come in, grab our office zoning, and we will zone pretty much all of this as office zoning. So now all of this is zoned in as offices. Hopefully we'll see that to fill in over time, as we have a few building over here, but that seemed to just instantly get rid of our demand for it. But we'll come back and we can start placing in these parking lots. Looks like we can get maybe up to a medium-sized parking lot in here, so let's see how these medium-sized parking lots look. Looks like we can almost perfectly get 3 of them. Those don't look terrible. Maybe once it's in context it won't look as bad, but we'll leave that as is. We'll have some more parking here and here, and then maybe just a little bit more parking right here. And then I almost want to fill in these areas with commercial, so let's grab some commercial zoning and we'll zone in like that between the parking lots. So now it looks like we have some stuff starting to build in here. It's going to take a while for it to finish up, but we do see some of our offices being completed. So I kind of like how that looks. It doesn't look terrible, so we'll keep those and wait for the rest of this to build in. And then in the meantime, we can continue with everything else that we've got going on over on this side of the road. So now, as I was checking up on the rest of the city, it looks like we might actually have some power issues, as some people over here were just complaining about power. And if we take a look here, we definitely do not have enough electricity available, and we can see we are importing electricity at this point. So I want to get that under control, and that leaves us to a great opportunity to come into our development panel and take a look at some other options for power. Now I think something that would be fun to try here is maybe solar power. So let's grab the emergency battery station and then the solar power plant, and I think that might actually be a really good way to fill in this area right here, as it won't be near any residential. It'll have some of this over here, but if we take a look, I don't think it only really produces noise pollution. However, there's absolutely no way we're going to fit this in here, so I guess that option is completely gone, and I'm not too sure where we would put a solar power plant with the land that we currently have. Now, I don't want to put the solar power plant on this island just because I do want to keep this pretty high density, and with the solar power plant being so large, that would take up a lot of area for us to build there. So I do really want to get this solar power plant in somewhere, but I don't want to try to fit it along here. So I think somewhere out in this huge open area would probably be the best spot for us to put it. So we're going to do something pretty temporary, and we're going to purchase a couple of these tiles, let's just purchase all 9 of these. So that uses probably about 50% of the tiles we had left to purchase. And then I want to replace this with a 4-way intersection and get another highway branching off this way, where we can then place down our solar power plant somewhere here or maybe on this side of the road. We'll see how it looks once we're done making our new interchange. So first, let's pause so we can delete this highway. We can do all of that, do all that, and pull this back pretty far. We might even delete this rail line, as we'll probably have to just squeeze it in wherever it'll fit after we get the interchange in here. So then we'll come into our roads, look at intersections, and we have all of these available to us. So we have this stack interchange, which is absolutely massive and maybe not what we're going to put here. And we could certainly get it to fit, but it's way too big for this area. And next we have this cloverleaf interchange, which is probably what we're going to use. It's about the same size as the one that was in here before, and it looks pretty good in context. So let's just figure out the best way to get it in here. I think we might have to delete some of our power lines, so we will have to remember to put those back in. And let's just try to fit this in where it won't create too many issues. So I think right about here looks good, although it has issues with this power line. So we'll delete those, and then we can place this down just like that. So now all we have to do is connect up all the different lanes, and this should be back up and functional pretty soon. So here, connecting up to our existing highway, we just upgraded this road to be a 3-lane highway between these two interchanges to give cars time to merge and get onto the on or off ramp, since the space between the two interchanges is so short. And then next we have to connect up these highways. So let's see if we can get a good enough slope just from here. So we'll grab this, come off pretty straight, although it looks like we might just have to upgrade no matter what. Yeah, so I think we do just have to buy this tile. Not bad, because we'll probably buy it eventually anyway. So then we can come back in here. I think if we cut it all the way back here, we get 2 pretty even nodes, so that'll help us create a more parallel highway. But then we can just come in here like so and add that in. Slope there. Looks like it remains pretty flat actually, so I think maybe the terrain slopes down just a little bit. And then going the opposite direction, coming straight out and then curving around into this highway, we get something that looks pretty natural. So I like how that connection looks. And then over here is going to be a bit weird because these don't quite line up as well, so we'll have to pull these back a good bit, and hopefully we can get a decent looking curve from these highways. Alright, and then we have this side connected up, and this all looks pretty good. So now I think we're okay to let this run again, and hopefully this will work out pretty well. I think we will upgrade some of these highways to allow for more merging room for the on and off ramps. So we'll just go around and do that real quick. And then all the way up here, we can leave those open as we expand our highway up this way. So it looks like our power issue is getting really bad, so we need to be pretty quick about this. So let's get another intersection, and we'll want something pretty similar to what we had before, where it just sort of connects into a single road. And let's try to find one that we like. As much as I like the partial cloverleaf, I want to maybe try something different just for fun. So let's try this dumbbell interchange. It looks pretty interesting. So we'll just sort of line this up. We'll line this up with our highway, and I think we want to curve sort of out this way. So we'll give it a little bit of a turn already and plop that right about here somewhere. Alright, so now we're connected up there. We'll just do a little turnaround right here. And I think now we're good to expand out this community and get our solar power plant placed down. So let's just let's go with this road. Plop that down like so. And let's see if we can get this right in here. It looks like we'll be able to do that. But we will have to get it sort of rotated perfectly on the road. So now we can plop this down just like so, and connect this right up to our power plant. And we forgot to reconnect all of these, so we need to quickly reestablish these connections so our city can have power once again. So that's the issue that we saw earlier, was just we weren't connected to any outside connections, so all of our power was basically gone. So then we'll reconnect it across the highway like so. And I think for power, we're finally connected up and good. We do need water, it looks like, so somewhere if we can grab our combined pipe, I think we'll just go off of this intersection and yeah, we'll follow this intersection, extend it up to the highway, and just sort of follow through under the highway all the way until we reach back into our community here, and then we can connect up to our already existing pipes right about there. So now this should hopefully deal with the water and sewage issue that we have here, and then all that's left to do is level out some of the terrain immediately surrounding the area so we can smooth it out and make it look a little bit nicer. So now after connecting that up, it looks like we have a water and a sewage problem, so let's get on that. I think we should pretty much just be able to connect up yet another pumping station right next to the one we had before, and then just another sewage outlet over here. I do want to get a better location for these, since it is starting to pollute a good portion of this river. So maybe far off in the future we can place it down here since that's the way that the water's flowing. And coming back here, it looks like we're finally able to deal with our water and sewage demands. And just checking up on everything else, I think those are good as well. Garbage is pretty good. Education's alright for now. Fire and rescue's okay. Police looks alright. And I think everything else is pretty much pretty good. Now, checking back up on our power grid, this power plant still says it's overloaded, which is odd because we come over here and check our solar power plant. I guess this is running at 100% usage. Not too sure what's oh, I think this needs employees before it can really start outputting power. So we might have to create a small little town out here for people to live and work. So we'll just quickly do that, and we'll throw in some low density residential right along this street, and then a tiny bit of commercial right along here. So now this says they don't have power, but I think that's just because we don't have a transformer station. So if we can get that transformer station right in here and connect it back up to our main power grid, these houses should now have power and everything should function normally again. So we can see here our power plant is slowly getting employees, the efficiency is slowly going up, and hopefully coming over here, this power plant is no longer overloaded. So that's good. Eventually I do want to move this over, maybe not right next to or near here, but somewhere off of this island so that we don't keep getting these ground pollution pop-ups, since people don't seem to be too happy with that. But I think that's pretty much where we're going to leave all of this. So quickly, I just want to redo some of our districts on this side, since we did add quite a bunch of new stuff. And I'm not too sure if we can get rid of nodes for our districts, but we'll have this side of the highway be one district, and then I think we'll have this whole area become its own district, and we'll sort of have it follow right along Poplar Street and then cut across just like this. So it looks like we can't have districts outside of our city limits, which is gonna make this a little tough to squeeze right along here, but we can do that. So this area becomes Chestnut Downs. We can have this whole region on the other side of the highway become another community separated by this road. So we'll just have this follow Poplar Street as well, and then everything on this side will become its own district. So we'll follow the highway and bring this through. So this is now all Sterling Gardens, and then this, which will probably become our industrial area, will then all become its own district as well. So now we have this split up into 4 separate communities. We have Hillside Way, Sterling Gardens, Chestnut Downs, and Linden Downs. And I kind of like that division for here. We'll keep that for now. You could argue that these two could be the same district, but we'll leave it how it is for now and see if maybe it makes more sense to combine them later on. I'm going to leave this open for now because I think that's what we're going to do in the next episode, is begin to flesh out this area, and we'll start to become a lot less dense than this is. It'll probably just end up being like sprawling country roads. We'll get some industry areas eventually. It looks like forestry might be good out here. And if we check some of our specialized industries, there's also opportunities for farming and maybe mining. Oil might be good here. So this will all just sort of slowly sprawl out and become a very, very low density community. But for now, I think that's where we're going to leave it. So if you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions or feedback, leave a comment below. Thanks for watching and have a great day.